Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Remember 11. Last episode, we learned more about Inabushi Keiko. We learned more about her DID, that she has about 11 personalities, that Susukage Hotori might be a 12th one, but I don't think it's likely. And yeah, it was mostly about her last episode, so I don't know what's gonna happen in this episode, and let's get on with it. Yomuki was standing in front of me, holding a cup with something steaming inside.
熱心ついでに熱々のコーヒーはどうかな?
A mischievous smile rose to my face as I reached for the cup. I thanked him as I accepted it.
それって淡住病院連続殺人の?
ええ、犯人の資料です。
そんなに面白いかい?
Instantly, Yomuki's expression made a complete change. It seems like he didn't want to chat about such matters. Perplexed, I gave a reply.
面白いっていうのとは違います。でも、とっても興味深いです。私、もともとこういうのを勉強する学生なんで。
そうなのか。まさかそれ、君の?
ええ。
そうか。だからそんなものが。
Yomuki lit up a cigarette as he sat in front of me. Blowing out smoke with a face that looked like he was enjoying the flavor, Yomuki followed the rising tobacco smoke with his eyes. I took a sip of the coffee. Because I had been absorbed in looking at the file, it seemed that my body had gotten colder. The hot coffee spread warmth throughout my stomach. Yomuki started talking again all of a sudden.
なあ、聞きたいんだが、その犯人ってのはどんなやつなんだ?
よもぎさんも興味あるんですか?
なんというか、その野じ馬根性だよ。
Was he being a little inarticulate, or was it just my imagination?
あれだけ世間を騒がせたやつだからな。山にしか興味のない僕でも多少は気になる。途中からぱったり犯人については報道されなくなっちまったしね。未成年でおまけに精神病だからってことで詳しい情報は伏せられた。被害者ですら何も教えてもらえなかった。そう聞いたよ。犯人はどんなやつなんだ?
Yomuki inquired, keeping his eyes on the stove. How should I answer? My seminar teacher had given me this file as a favor. Normally, the contents of documents like this were confidential. I was hesitating over whether to reveal the more detailed content or not, so I decided to only talk about the parts I thought would be okay to reveal.
犯人は多重人格だったそうです。だから免罪に。
それは知っているよ。
Yomuki spoke in an unexpectedly forceful tone.
僕が聞きたいのは、なんというか、そいつは悪党なのかということだ。12人もの人間を殺して、なおそいつの命は守られているが、果たして法律で守らなくてはならないほどの価値がある人間なのか?
それは。
What was he trying to say?
ああ、いや、特に深い意味はないんだ。
Yomuki may have felt that he was confusing me, as he hesitated and then shrugged his shoulders. Tossing his cigarette into the stove, he lowered his voice and continued.
さっき27人もの遺体を見ただろう。ちょっとナーバスになっちゃってさ。
Yomuki scratched his head embarrassedly. Certainly, seeing that crash site would be enough to make you really think deeply about life. It can change how a person views life and death. I became a bit confused as well. Yomuki may have seemed calm at the time, but he may have only been desperately trying to bear it. While flipping through the file quickly, I had to decide how to reply to Yomuki. Say what I truly felt, give an evasive answer. I'm gonna say my true feelings. I told him what I honestly thought.
犬伏恵子は悪いことをしたと思います。あまりにもひどいことをしたと。ただ、彼女の行為は悪ですが、彼女自身の善悪については分かりません。分からないから調べてみたいと思うんです。どうしてそんなひどいことができたのか。
Hearing my answer, Yomugi replied with only one phrase.
そうか。
That was his answer. And then, he mussed my hair with his hand.
なら生きて帰らないとな。
はい。
さてと、火が弱まってきたな。
After standing up, he gave a big stretch. The stove's flame had lost its vigor. It needed to be replenished with firewood from the basement.
あ、そうそう。雪道くんがボイスレコーダーに何か吹き込んでたらしいよ。
But we checked.
君宛てのメッセージじゃないのか？もう一人の人格が何をしているのかわからないなんて DID ってのは辛いな。
Leaving his words mixed with a sigh, Yomugi descended into the basement.
どうしたんだろう、よもぎさん。
I wonder if Satorou said something to him. Yomugi's back looked a little lonely as he climbed down the ladder. Once you're in your 30s, you probably have a lot to think about. I guess that's true. Oh, I can't just sit here. Ooh. Okay. I would lend Yomugi a hand, but I am curious about what Satorou has to say, so I'm gonna go with Satorou's message. I have to listen to the message from Satorou. Did he find an answer that could help resolve this phenomenon? Probably not, but I want to see what he says. Groping in my pocket, I searched for the voice recorder.
Oi! Mayuzumi!
Yomugi's loud voice rang out from the basement.
ちょっと手伝ってくれ!
Mayuzumi, here curled up on the bed, made an openly reluctant face.
なんで私なのよ。
いいから頼むよ!
そっちの女に頼めばいいでしょ。
She glared in my direction. I panicked and stood up. It seems I should try to help Yomugi-san. Thinking that, I tried calling down to the basement. And, from the stairs that lead to the basement, Yomugi's head popped up. He lifted the firewood up and laid it on the floor.
もういいよ.
It looks like he managed to finish by himself.
すいません。気がつかなくて。
いいって。
Yomugi laughed gently. Regaining myself, I took out the VR. There were 2 new data entries. First, I played data 1.
ああ、俺だ。サトルだ。ユニから聞いたよ。墜落現場に行ったらしいな。俺は不器用だから。こういう時なんて言えばいいのか。ただ一つだけ、心。今、お前が生きてる意味をよく考えてほしい。亡くなった人の命を取り戻すことはできない。過ぎてしまったことはどうすることもできないんだ。でも少なくともお前は生きている。生き残ったことには必ず意味があるはずだ。俺はそう思う。だから今はただ頭のいいお前のことだ。これだけ言えばわかるよな、心。どうか気を落とさないでくれ。お前は一人ぼっちなんかじゃないんだ。俺はいつでもお前のそばにいる。
Aww, these are really sweet words.
直接触れ合うことはできないけど、俺とお前は一心同体みたいなものなんだから。だから俺がついてると思って安心してくれ。それじゃあな。
Data 1 ended there. Somehow, I'm kind of embarrassed. And, more than that, happy. Satorou was worrying about me. Knowing that I went to the crash site and was feeling down, he tried to cheer me up.
今、お前が生きてる意味をよく考えてほしい。
That's what Satorou said. I survived. And I'm still alive now. That's why, as long as I'm still alive, I'll give my all to live. Even if I don't understand the reason why. Continuing, I played Data 2. However, why did he purposely divide the message into 2 parts? Once again, my voice flows out.
心、言い忘れたことがあった。聞いてくれ。多分すぐには信じてもらえないと思うけど、今心はこう思ってるんだよな。今年は2011年だって。
What? No.
だけどそうじゃないんだ。
Oh my god.
心のいる世界は1年後の2012年なんだよ。
What? That's interesting. Oh,
疑うんなら周りのやつに聞いてもらっても構わない。でもこれは厳然たる事実なんだ。
what the heck? When did that happen?
受け入れてほしい。だからユニのことも。
なに僕のことがどうかした？
What the heck? The other two ended. Huh? It ended there? I was surprised and shocked at the same time. The world I am now is the year 2012? What is he saying? Today is January 13th, 2011. Okay, something's going on and ugh. Ooh. On New Year's Day of this year, I received a New Year's card that read Happy 2011 written on it, along with an illustration of the rabbit of the Chinese zodiac. Why had he made such a simple misunderstanding? If you don't believe me, you can ask the people around you. That's what he told me.
そこまで言うなら聞いてやろうじゃないの。
I tried asking while looking over at the three of them.
皆さん、
All three focused their gazes on me.
つかぬことをお聞きしますが、今年は何年でしょうか？
At once, three faces shifted to an expression that seemed to say, huh?
おいおい、どうしたって言うんだいきなり。
ついに脳みそまで行かれちゃったの？
Uni blinked in surprise.
いいから答えて。
2011年だが。
Oh. I looked at Maizumi, who was wrapped in a blanket.
2011年よ。
I looked at Uni.
2011年だよ。
Satorou, what are you talking about? I was satisfied with the answer. This proved that this year was the year 2011. As I thought, Satorou must have misunderstood something. I don't know how the misunderstanding occurred, but that should clear it up. I went to the basement to record my message. The three of them wordlessly stared at me in blank amazement. Interesting, huh? I took the VR out of my pocket.
心です。メッセージ聞きました。どうして今年が2012年だなんて言うの？今年は2011年だよ。勘違いなんてあなたらしくない。ちょっと休んだら？みんなにも聞いてみたけど、今年は2011年だって言ってた。繰り返すけど、今年は絶対2011年だよ。
I paused the recording, and after thinking for a while, I pressed the record button once again.
追伸、腕時計外すのやめてよね。腕時計は腕にはめるから腕時計って言うんだから。
Having finally told him about that thing which had been bothering me for a long time, I felt a bit satisfied. A smile naturally followed. Returning to their first floor, the three upstairs were eyeing me from a distance. They had huddled together, whispering to each other. Perhaps my behavior was too suspicious for them to overlook. But thinking to myself that this wouldn't be the first time, I became defiant. Because of my personality exchange with Satorou, those watching from around us probably think my speech and conduct quite suspicious. Nothing will come of it even if I try to smooth things over now. In order to conserve my strength, I lay down, pulling a blanket over my head as I did. What's happening? I opened my eyes and all of a sudden it had become dark outside. It seemed I slept for longer than I thought. Everyone was staying quietly in their own locations as well. Looks like nothing out of the ordinary happened. It may have been because of my peace of mind, but drowsiness overcame me once again. As I began to doze off, we switch. Back at Sphere. I wonder. Kokoro, you should ask everybody at Sphere what year it is. I think it's the year 2012 in Sphere. I was at Sphere. I was in the living area, sprawled out on the sofa.
ラジオラジオ
Hi, other Uni. Uni, who was sitting right beside me, got up and returned to his room with light steps. Then, as if trading places with him, Utsumi came out of her room. She walked toward the kitchen. A moment later, I could hear the sound of water running. I turned my head to look, and Utsumi was washing the dishes. Hattori wasn't around. She might be sleeping in her room.
内海さん、
何？
Utsumi answered without turning her head.
今年って何年でしたっけ？
Utsumi came to a sudden halt. She slowly turned in my direction.
冬川さん？
ええ、そうですけど。
そう。冬川さんもなの。
For some reason, her laugh seemed odd. I wonder what's wrong.
ついさっきもね、有機堂くんに同じことを聞かれたのよ。
Oh, interesting.
サトルが？それで今年は何年なんですか
？2012年。
I knew it. So freaking. I like how just the music stops for dramatic effect. Oh. So it's like a year in the future at Sphere. So then the uni. So then that could be the very same uni. It could be. Yeah. But what about that newspaper in the past? Why does that even exist? And no, I don't want to think about it. Her reply startled me.
間違いないですか？
ええ。だって去年は2011年だったもの。
I began to feel less sure of what I thought. I'll try asking someone else. Going into Hotori's room, I found her in bed. Just before, or in other words, one transfer ago, she had been acting quite deranged. However, it seemed she had calmed down completely since then. Seeing me, she roused herself. Still in bed, she tilted her head and stared at me.
ねえ、ほとりちゃん、今年って何年だっけ？
As if puzzled, she inclined her head doubtfully against the pillow. And then she hesitantly made a peace sign.
Huh?
Hattori continued to wait in that position.
にってこと？
Nodding, she then made a circle with her thumb and index finger. 0. And finally, raising both hands, she raised only her index finger up on each. 11. Oh. What the heck?
2011年？
Hattori nodded repeatedly. I was getting more and more confused. What the heck? Ask Uni. Oh my gosh, ask Uni. Which one of them is right?
ありがとう。ゆっくり休んでね。
I left the room. Just as I returned to the living area, Uni also entered. In his hands was a small portable radio.
ねえ、ユニ。今年は何年？また？
He had an exasperated expression on his face. Again, probably means Uni got asked the same question by Satorou.
しつこいよ。ごめん。でもお願い。教えて。11年だってば。
What the heck? Then why is Utsumi saying it's 2012?
2011年なのね。
そうだよ。一体何なの？
なんでもない。
Now it's clear. It's not something that's determined by majority rule, but the answer I got most often was 2011. The only ones that said it was 2012 were Satorou and Utsumi. Everyone else said 2011. So it must be the year 2011 after all.
おかしいな。
And Yuna's voice sounded slightly troubled. Wondering what was wrong, I watched as Uni randomly pressed switches on his portable radio. Putting in the earphones, he tilted his head this way and that.
なんで聞こえないんだよ。
It seems that the radio is broken. Oh, I'll fix it for you, Uni.
ちょっと貸して。
I reached for the radio in Uni's hands.
本当に壊れてるの？
Taking the radio from Uni, I prod at it, turning it around to get a better look at it. I pushed various switches, but the radio remained quiet, not letting forth even a single word. In the first place, there's nothing displaying on the LCD screen. It had gone completely silent.
治りそう？
Uni looked at me with an anxious expression.
これ本当にラジオなの？
ダメだ。
Uni's shoulders slumped in disappointment.
サトルって機械音痴なんだね。
When he says it so abruptly, it's kind of a shock. All girls are bad with machines, you know.
もうわかんない。
Unable to take anymore, I tossed the radio aside. I only meant to throw it lightly aside, but due to its weight, it felt with more force than I thought it would. It made a loud noise as it hit the floor. Maybe now it's fixed. At the moment of impact, a piece flew off the radio. Okay, maybe it's not fixed. I thought I had broken, but it seemed was only that the cover of the battery compartment had fallen off.
あ、
Uni let out a shout of surprise as he picked up the radio.
電池入ってないや。
Oh,
ユニ
ごめん。
baka, Uni, baka. Utsumi brought us some new batteries, and upon inserting them, the radio immediately came to life. The reception was bad, but voices could definitely be heard through the static.
するんですけれども、いやー、今年も残すところあと352日ですね。
何言ってるんですか、小林さん。まだ2011年始まったばかりじゃないですか。
Yep, there you go. The year 2011. 2011. I'm sure the DJ on the radio said 2011 just now. Uni twisted the tuning knob.
今年は2011年うさぎ年です。このうさぎ年にちなんで名古屋の栄ではバニーガールのキャンペーンが行われており、大勢の人で。
そういえば今年で地上波アナログ放送が廃止になりますね。計画当初は2011年には不可能だとの声もありましたが、思ったよりもデジタルへの移行はスムーズにいったようです。10年前にはデジタル対応のテレビって100万円以上したんですよ。信じられます？
Uni continued to fiddle with the tuning knob, skipping from station to station. It seemed he was looking for a program that he liked.
といったわけで、太陽風は11年周期で強くなったり弱くなったりするのです。そして今年2011年はちょうどその当たり年でありまして、地球の周回軌道上にあるさまざまな衛星が太陽風の影響によりわかりましたか？
No matter what program he switches to, they're talking about the year 2011. There's no way it can be 2012.
つまんないのばっかりだな。
Uni switched off the radio. I sank deep into the sofa. Sato and Utsumi both have it wrong. But those two didn't seem like the kind of people to make that kind of mistake, so why? My sight rests on the large television. What about the TV? Timidly, I tried turning on the power. The first thing I saw was a scenic shot of the mountains. No way are they going to show Mount Takakura, I thought, as I brought my face closer to the screen. But that was wrong. It was the Jungfrau of Switzerland. Jungfrau of Switzerland. Jungfrau. a mountain range in the Swiss Bernese Alps. Its peak stands 4,158 meters above sea level. The name means Virgin Peak. It was designated a World Heritage Site in 2001. Cool. I'd seen a photo of it before. A cute little train running along a mountain through budding greenery. I changed the channel. This time it's an ocean scene. A dolphin cuts through the water, swimming at an incredible speed. The woods. A large tree with a width of over 10 meters is on screen. Sunshine shines from between the trees and the leaves sway in the wind.
何これ普通の番組はやってないのもういいや
I gave up on the TV, deciding instead to engross myself in thinking. Why does Satorou and Utsumi say this was the year 2012? Then, for argument's sake, let's say that this is the year 2012. Then the problem with the newspaper would have been resolved. Someone visited the shelter cabin holding a July 2011 issue of the newspaper. The newspaper had a printed obituary for the deceased who died in that very cabin, though, so it was rather in bad taste. If that someone had left it there, then it would at least be consistent.
だけどそれだけよねそれ以外は全然矛盾してる
I went to the crash site with Yomugi. There was a fresh scar on the earth from the accident. In no way did it seem that a full year had passed.
今日は2011年だよ
There's no mistaking it. In the first place, I had gone on the plane in the year 2012 with Wakanai as my destination. If this is the year 2012, where did the blank 1 year period go? Besides, it was only two people that, for whatever dumb reason, said it was the year 2012. Just Satorou and Utsumi. Other than them, everyone's saying it was the year 2011. Even the radio. They had informed us that it was the year 2011 on public airwaves. If they were wrong, there would probably be a huge problem. When I suddenly tuned back into reality, Uni was singing the song.
かごめかごめかごの中の鳥はいついつでやる
Suddenly remembering something, I smiled at Uni.
ねえクマさんありがとね
When I was feeling down in the shelter cabin, Uni's kindness when he hugged me with a teddy bear had left a deep impression on my heart. I wanted to thank him just once. However, Uni just stared at me suspiciously, that's right, because I'm Satorou.
何
ほらクマさんのぬいぐるみ
おえ
Maybe he doesn't understand because my body is Satorou's right now.
私は今心なのわ私を慰めてくれたよねあの小屋で
小屋何のことそんなことあった確かに僕は TV クマのぬいぐるみを持ってたよだけどサトルに TV を触らせてあげたことなんてないよもちろん心にもね
So by Kokoro's logic, this must be the Sphere frickin' Uni. I hung my head in frustration at this turn of events. I lightly bit my lip. Again the things we're saying don't match up. Was my theory that Uni was transferring along with me wrong after all? If so, why does Uni exist both here and there? Who is this Uni? Ah, yet another riddle. My head begins to hurt. I'm confused. Same. I don't want to think anymore. I try putting my hand on my forehead. It feels like I have a slight fever. Without saying anything else to Uni, I walk to Satorou's room with heavy steps. As I locked the door, I sighed. I looked for a reply from Satorou. I could only rely on him now. I searched the top of the desk. The note from last time was there, but there wasn't anything new. Thinking that I might have fallen onto the bed or the floor, I tried searching for it, but it was useless.
なんで何も返してくれないのよ
I tried shouting, but there was no way I would hear Satoru's voice answer me. I slumped face down onto the bed. I pulled a blanket over my head. Enough already. Somebody save me. I'm just a girl. If you throw such an impossible situation at me, there's no way I could bear it, is there? My feelings became so strong that even I couldn't control them. Tears well up in my eyes. What I had been holding back until now all burst out at once. Aww. Why did something like this have to happen? Why? Back to the cabin. Memories and predictions. Before I realized it, the blanket over my head had vanished. On the contrary, everything around me underwent a complete change. Ooh, they're outside. I was standing on the dark snowfield. In front of me was the door to the shelter cabin. My body was frozen through and through. Gusts of biting cold wind tore through me. In that bitter cold, I took leave of my senses. It was more than I could bear, and I made for the shelter cabin, almost falling in the door.
結城道君、どこに行ってたんだ？
Yomugi, who was in front of the stove, got up.
突然飛び出してくから心配したぞ。また発作が出たんじゃないかって。
Yuni drew near and felt my coat.
コートが濡れてるよ。うわ、靴もびしょびしょ。一人で雪遊びでもしてたの？
私にもよくわからないんだけど。
その喋り方、冬川さんか。
Ah, I think Satorou speaks with a more deeper tone.
濡れてるのか？それはまずい。
Yomugi forcibly sat me down before the stove.
濡れてるものは脱ぐんだ。特に足の指や手を温めて。
Confused by the strength of his tone, I nevertheless took off my shoes.
しっかりマッサージするようにな。濡れたまま放っておけば、まず間違いなく凍傷になる。
凍傷？
ああ、良くて指、悪ければ足を失う羽目になる。
I took off my wet coat and hung it by the window. The snow on it began to melt, the water dripping to the floor. After holding my feet out toward the fire, I hastily began to massage them.
僕も手伝ってあげるよ。
Yuni's small hands rubbed my feet.
ありがとう。
Gradually, I felt the blood return to my frozen feet, along with a sensation like an itch.
ストーブの火を強めるか。
Yomugi brought over more firewood. I'm gonna make the fire hotter.
お願いします。
Yomugi nodded and threw some firewood inside the stove. The heat of the fire increased in intensity to the point where I could feel it against my face. So warm. I sighed in relief.
どうだい？
はい、助かります。
I meekly bowed. And from behind me, I heard the sound of someone clucking their tongue. When I turned around, I saw Mayuzumi wrapped in blankets on the top bunk bed, looking at Yomugi with cold eyes.
その子にはずいぶん親切なのね。
Yomugi looked up at the ceiling, fed up.
おいおい、そんなこと言ってる場合じゃないだろう。
With a little snort, Mayuzumi turns her back to us and lies down.
やきもちか？
Mayuzumi didn't try to talk back, even after Yomugi's joke.
もうお茶のパックがないんだ。出がらしですまないね。
Yomugi had made some more chamomile tea. Since he had just thrown a tea bag into the cup, it was a bit weak, but there was no substitute for that warmth. Just as I got uncomfortable, Yuni asked me a question.
ねえ、何してたの？心配したんだよ。
まったくだ。外に出るときは 一言声をかけてくれよ。
すみません。私じゃなくて悟が出て行ったみたいで。
結城くんが。
As if he wanted to apologize, Yomugi scratched his head. Then he heaved a sigh as if giving up.
それじゃあ彼に会ったら伝えとくよ。
お願いします。
Somehow, it comes out like an apology to him. Because of the personality exchange, I'm a big burden to everyone here in the shelter cabin. Maizumi's inactivity is especially remarkable. She's been staying curled up in bed as if exhausted for some time now, but whenever Satoru's name comes up, she glares at whoever said it with a mix of rage and sorrow. I don't know what their relationship is, but I don't think it's wrong to say that it's really making her really upset. Anyway, I can't do too much about it. While I sat beside the stove, Yomugi was trying to get the satellite phone to work. He's clinging to the possibility that it will, completely by chance, connect.
ダメか。
繋がらないの？
Nodding, Yomugi turned the phone off.
電話さえ繋がれば。
If I remember correctly, according to the newspaper, the probability of getting through is around 1 million to 1. Even if we kept making a phone call once every second for 24 hours, a good connection would occur only once in about 11.5 days. Ooh. Really, I guess it's impossible. Feeling restored, I moved from the stove to the bed. What was Satorou doing outside? I thought he might have left behind a note. I took out the voice recorder and switched it on. There were messages on it. Data 1 and Data 2. First, I played back Data 1.
悟だ。まずはどうでもいいことから話す。君の要望はできるだけ聞くつもりだ。俺たちはパートナーだからな。だがしかしだ。
What's he gonna say?
腕時計をつけるという要望だけは受け入れるわけにはいかない。
I looked at my right arm. My watch wasn't there. What's his deal? It wasn't in my pocket either.
また？もうなんでよ。腕時計ぐらいはめとけばいいじゃない。腕に何かついてるとなんだか落ち着かないんだよ。
Interesting.
ちなみに俺はブレスレットとかもダメ。何がちなみによ。そもそもだな、腕に時計をはめるという習慣自体に俺は疑問を感じるね。紳士というのは懐中時計を持ってるものだろう。まあ懐中時計のデザインは気に入ったものがないし、機能的に劣るんでジェントルマンの心意気は大事にしたいと思わないか？思わないっていうか、その理論どっかおかしいし。
Satoru's the type who's unsatisfied if he doesn't rationalize anything and everything. Yeah, he's the kind of person I just don't get along with.
腕時計協会に訴えられてもこの気持ちは変わらない。そんなわけで腕時計をつけるという要望については却下させてもらうよ。
Oh, Satorou. Data 1 ended there. Hey, what about Data 2? Before playing Data 2, I decided to look for my watch. It's not in my pocket. It's not on the bunk bed ladder either. Not on the bed either, not on the table either. It wasn't around the neck of the teddy bear either. Damn it! Where do you put it? It's my favorite watch too. If you lost it, I'll make you regret it. I'll make you regret it for the rest of your life. As I paced nervously around the cabin like that.
どうしたんだい？
Yomugi asked, completely puzzled.
ないんです。ないんですよ。
ない？
ないないここにもない、あっこにもない、そこにもない。サトルのバカなくしちゃったじゃない。どう責任取ってくれるのよ。
Is she legitimately crying?
なあ、冬川さん？ なくしたっていうのは腕時計のことかい？
よもぎさん知ってるの？
ああ。
どこなの？
I came right up to Yomugi. I grabbed him by the collar and shook him.
落ち着け、落ち着いてくれ。これじゃ話ができない。
Panicking, I let go of Yomugi's neck.
ごめんなさい。
いや、いいんだ。
で、時計はどこに？
多分
While talking, Yomugi reached a hand into his pocket.
これのことだろう。
There it is.
私の時計！
What he took out was none other than my beloved wristwatch.
なんでよもぎさんが持ってるの？
I asked as I took the watch.
僕に聞かれたってわからないよ。何せ君が、あの時は有機堂くんだったかな。有機堂くんが預かってくれっていうものだから。僕にだってさっぱりさ。彼は何も聞かずに頼むよなんて言ってくるし、彼に聞いた方が早いんじゃないかい？
いえ、いいんです。
え、そうなのかい？ならいいんだけれど。
As I put the watch back on, I went over to the bed. It's like Satorou wants to make sure I don't have the watch on. Like he's stubbornly trying to get rid of it. The hiding places are gradually getting more elaborate. That's why he handed it over to Yomugi. He thought I wouldn't find it. Damn it! If it's going to be that way, I'll get stubborn too. Just as stubbornly, I'll keep putting it back on. Whenever you hide it, I'm going to find it. Having forced this decision, I sat on the bed.
さてと。
Right, data 2. I retrieved the voice recorder. Then I played data 2. What kind of message will be next?
さて、本題に入ろう。前回の続きだ。今年が何年かと俺は前のメッセージでこう言ったよな。心のいる世界は1年後の。
So he said. But that was Satorou's misunderstanding.
でもそれは正確な言い方じゃなかった。あの時は気が動転してて忘れちまってたんだよ。心がボイスレコーダーを聞くことのできる場所はこの避難小屋に限られているって、そんな当たり前のことに気づかなかったんだ。
I don't understand. What is Satorou trying to say? That it's 2012 over there in Sphere?
あの時俺の言った心のいる世界とは避難小屋のことを言ったんじゃない。今現在ここにいる俺を基準としての心のいる世界、つまりスフィアのことを言ったんだ。わかるか？どういうこと？
I listened carefully to the recorder.
単刀直入に言うとこういうことになる。スフィアのある世界が2012年、俺と心の意識は空間を移動すると同時に飛び越えているんだ。俺たちが陥っているのは単なる人格交換現象じゃない。人格交換とさらに時間跳躍が加わった極めて特殊な転移。
Oops. What does this mean? It's not just a personality exchange, but also a time jump? The personality exchange on its own is hard enough to believe, though I've already realized I have no choice but to believe it. And not only that, but a time slip is taking place? Come on. Really, come on now.
と言ってもお前はきっと信じてくれないだろうな。どう説明すればいいんだろう。とにかくこれは事実なんだ。スフィアは2012年、避難小屋は2011年。俺と心は2つの異なった時間、空間、肉体の間をぐるぐるぐるぐると入れ替わり続けてるんだ。どうしてそんなことが？
Say this with such certainty. I try to say.
ああ、今お前はどうしてそんなことが断言できるんだってそう思ったの？答えは簡単だ。俺が2012年の住人だからだよ。
Oh.
つまり俺はお前にとっては未来の人間ということになる。だから俺はこの避難小屋が2011年だってことを知ってるんだ。18便が墜落したのは俺にとっては去年のことだから。
Interesting.
これでもまだ信じてもらえないかな。仕方がない。それじゃあユニのことを教えよう。
Oh, yes, please.
昨日のスフィアでのメッセージにお前はこう書いたよな。
Okay.
だってそうじゃなければユニが同時に2人も存在することを説明できないって。同時に心はそう書いた。でもな、本当は同時なんかじゃないんだ。片方のユニは2011年のユニ、もう片方のユニは2012年のユニなんだよ。時間軸上の異なったポイントに同一人物がいたとしても、っていうか当たり前のことだよな。未来にも過去にもユニがいるのは当然のことだ。
そうか、なるほど。
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes much more sense. But still, I suddenly started believing what Satorou had told me. Because if it's true, then lots of things start to make sense. Yuni, what Utsumi said. Wait, but Satoru's message continues. I laid aside my thoughts for the time being and carefully listened to his words.
でもな、ここからが一筋縄ではいかないんだが。
Then he paused for a while. He didn't resume speaking. Did something happen?
すまない、心。
The voice I heard at last was, for some reason, a rather subdued one.
どうしたのサトル。なんというか、今俺は、いや、このことは後で教えるよ。ひとまずメッセージは以上だ。ちょっと待ってよ。
Oh, come on, Sacho, don't do this to us.
まだ話は途中じゃない。勝手に打ち切らないでよ。
I complained to the voice recorder. Of course, I know it's meaningless.
ああ、待った。大事なことを伝え忘れるところだった。
Something important?
いいか、心。スフィアでは今後一切食べ物を口にしないでくれ。
Oh.
は？
これはお願いじゃない。言い方は悪いけど命令だ。詳しいことは今度説明する。
Interesting.
とにかく一口でも何かを食べたら命はないと思ってくれ。じゃあ頼んだぞ。
And there the message ended. I turned off the recorder. I leaned against the wall. I leaned against the wall. We're coming and going back and forth between the years 2011 and 2012. That was the blind spot. The double existence of Uni was a big mystery. They weren't clones, and furthermore, they had the same memory. I couldn't imagine anything, but they were transferring at the same time. If you consider a time slip, the problem is settled. After all, the two Unis were respectively the Uni of the past and the Uni of the future. I admired the smart solution.
赤倉岳は2011年、スフィアは2012年。
According to Satorou, I, thinking of this year as 2011, am in a shelter cabin. And Satorou, who insists it's 2012, is in Sphia. I nodded in agreement. But something wasn't right. Right. That Uni, and the fact that the Uni in Sphia, and the fact that Inubushi Keiko, or Suzukage Hotori, says 2011. This is the same unease I felt earlier.
あれ？どっかおかしい。
As I thought this, it hit me. The newspaper, and that too. The date on the newspaper was July 4th, 2011. If the time of the shelter cabin is 2012, there would be no contradiction in that newspaper being there. However, if we say that the date of the shelter cabin is January 13th, 2011, it's strange. A newspaper from the future lying around here. And moreover, the radio. The radio I heard in Sphia said that the year was 2011. Oh, that's right.
どうして？まさか避難小屋が2012年でスフィアが2011年。
If I believe that, it solves the problems of the newspaper and the radio. But if that's the case, it brings up other contradictions. Outside the shelter cabin is that fresh crash site. In 2012, the crash site could also exist.
その矛盾を回避するためには
What if the airplane we boarded somehow jumped to 2012 during the flight, then crashed on Mount Akakura? Then, if I, in the shelter cabin in 2012, and Satorou in Sphere of 2011 became the personality exchange. With this reasoning, the contradictions of the radio I heard in Sphere reporting it was 2011, and there being a fresh crash site on Mount Akakura in 2012 are resolved. But
それじゃあ新聞の説明がつかないよ
if the plane crashed on Mount Akakura in 2012, the article dated July 4, 2011 couldn't possibly have been published. Besides, the explanation works if I'm thinking it's 2012, but doesn't work if Satoru was thinking that it's 2012.
これも違う
As I thought about another possibility, I suddenly realized it.
ひょっとして私が転院してるのは避難小屋もスフィアも両方とも2011年でサトルが転院してるのは両方とも2012年なんじゃない
If that's so, it accounts for how I feel this is 2011, but Satoru thinks it's 2012. You know, I was kind of thinking that too, a little while ago.
でもそれじゃダメだ全然ダメ
But still doesn't make sense. If I don't exchange personalities with the Satoru 2012, we wouldn't get in dispute over the problem what year this is. Besides, if it turns out I'm going back and forth to 2011, the contradiction of the two unis comes up again. I brooded over it. I thought there being a gap between the dates was a good idea, but in practice it doesn't seem so simple.
パズルでも解いてる気分
I'm hopeless at puzzles. Even a small one is agony and makes me want to give up. Even for university research, I like keeping careful observations, but when the time comes to write a paper on it and lay out all the reasoning, I end up writing in agony. Writhing in agony. When I read detective novels, I leave everything to the tale's investigator and don't reason or anything. But now, there is no detective that will solve the puzzle for me. This is happening to me right now.
頑張って考えなきゃ
Come to think of it, I recall Satoru's last words. At Sphere, from now on, don't eat any of the food. Anyhow, if you take a single bite of anything, then consider your life over. My life? That, in other words, means it's like there is a possibility I'll be served poison? I am putting that in my corner of my memory. Still leaning against the wall, my thoughts kept going around in circles. Oh. New life. I suddenly found myself lying face up in the bed, and this is where I stop. Whew, okay. Not much was learned today. We kind of got more information about... So, basically this whole episode deals with the problem of the year. Is it really 2012 in Sphere? Or 2011 in the cabin? Or maybe both? It's the same year in both places? Confusing, but whew, whatever. Hopefully the game answers that. If not, then I just have to dig deep to answer it myself. Whew, that's really all. That's really all I have to say for this episode. I enjoyed it and can't wait for more, like I always say. Anyway, I'm gonna save this time. See you next episode.